The FC11 is not the most popular light, which is a shame because it really is amazing. I've reviewed lights from Wurkkos before, but I hadn't heard of the FC11 until recently. I really enjoyed the lights they sent in the past, and I asked if they could send me one of these to review. They didn't, so I bought this one myself. The light is 11.6 centimeters long and 2.7 centimeters wide. It weighs 65 grams without the battery installed, making for a light that is very compact and portable. The light is primarily made of aluminum and has good quality black hard anodizing. The machining is not amazing, but it is generally well built, and is actually quite impressive for the price. The threads are nicely square cut and fully anodized, and the interior of the battery tube is anodized as well. The light has gold-plated springs on both the tail and the head, allowing for flat-topped cells and providing extra shock protection for the battery, while the driver features proper electrical reverse polarity protection. The threads are lubricated and sealed with nitrile O-rings. The base of the light is a simple flat surface, which includes a side lanyard attachment point that does not hinder tail standing. This attachment point is not fully beveled and is slightly sharp, so it will probably wear on the lanyard, but at least the hole is large enough to easily thread the lanyard through. Hidden within the base of this light is a rather powerful magnet, which has a very strong grip. In fact, it's so strong that it actually carries the battery with it when being removed. This may be a good thing or a bad thing depending on your preferences, but personally I wish it wasn't quite so powerful. The body of the light has several shallow grooves to enhance grip, and these feel really great in the hand. They provide plenty of traction while being comfortable to hold. The light comes with a stainless steel clip attached, which is nothing special. It gets the job done just fine without being annoying or anything. It can be easily removed if desired. Moving up to the head of the light, there's a large digital side switch with a blue anodized aluminum ring. The switch is very clicky and feels great to use, and is very easy to find in the dark. Underneath the rubber boot are LEDs that display the battery level. Opposite this switch is a very well-sealed rubber port cover that swivels away to give full access. I don't like rubber covers, but at least this one is really thick and gives a great seal, which should help with the water resistance. Below this is the USB-C port, which is still pretty uncommon to see in flashlights. I think this is a huge step up over the more common micro USB, as it provides greater durability and compatibility with common chargers, which is a must for an EDC style flashlight. The good news is that the light comes with the cable in the box, so you'll be covered even if you're still behind the times. The port itself is well mounted and seems sturdy, so it should last a long time. Flanking the port and the button are the heatsink fins, which are pretty small and shallow. Unfortunately, these are a bit sharp, so if you rest your fingers along them, it may be slightly uncomfortable to hold. Above this is an aluminum bezel, under which sits a hardened mineral crystal glass lens. This lens does not have any anti-reflective coating, which is my biggest complaint about the build. Thankfully, Wurkkos compensates with their excellent optical assembly, which includes a beautifully machined and very clean orange peel reflector, and a well-centered Samsung LH351D emitter. This is the same emitter that Wurkkos has used in their previous lights, which produces a fantastic beam with a tint of around 6000K and a high CRI of 90. This is definitely one of the main selling points of this light, and I would really consider buying it just for this if you are not familiar with the emitter, but I will talk about that later in the review. Overall, the build of this light is good. It's a bit below the quality of something like a Through Night, but it's still quite good, and I think it provides excellent value for the money. Wurkkos claims that this is waterproof in accordance with the IPX7 rating, which means it can be submerged up to 1 meter for about 30 minutes. This is not quite as good as the usual IPX8 that many lights are rated for, but it will still be more than sufficient for EDC use, I think. The light has an impact rating of 1 meter, which again is merely sufficient. However, I do feel that this light is very well built, and I would not expect it to fail unless it were abused really badly. I would trust the ratings Wurkkos has given, and to be completely honest, I would not be surprised if this light were not tougher than they are claiming. Still, if durability is a primary concern, then this may not be the best choice for you. Wurkkos has implemented a very well thought out interface on this light. It offers 2 primary modes of functionality: a stepped operation, in which the light has 5 pre-programmed brightness levels, and a selectable variable mode that allows the user to fine-tune the output of the light to their preferences. In the first mode, the interface works just like any other light of this design. Pressing the side switch turns the light on and off, and pressing and holding cycles the brightness levels from eco, low, medium, and high. Double pressing from either on or off will immediately activate turbo mode, and triple pressing activates strobe. While the light is off, pressing and holding for about half a second turns the light on in eco mode. The light has memory mode for eco, low, medium, and high. To activate variable mode, simply press and hold the side switch for 4 seconds. The light will flash twice to indicate the mode change. From here, pressing and holding the side switch will ramp the light up or down, and the light will blink to indicate that it has reached the end of the cycle. The output can be fine-tuned, as it will always ramp in the opposite direction from the last change. Pressing and holding from off for 4 seconds again will revert back to the stepped mode. It's also worth mentioning that the light will remember where the output was set even when switching between the two modes. Finally, quadruple pressing the button will activate lockout. I don't think this is super useful, but it's there if you want it, and at least it doesn't get in the way. Overall, the interface here is very good. The basic operation is nothing special, but I think that the two different modes are implemented very well, and they never get in the way of each other. You can set it to whichever mode you prefer, and you won't have to worry about it again. I have not experienced any bugs or anything while using the light. There's really only one complaint I have, which is that I think the output ramping is too fast, which can make it difficult to get it dialed in just right. However, the fact that the light alternates ramping directions provides an easy way to refine the output level, so it's not a big issue. When turning the light on from off, the side switch will illuminate for 5 seconds to display the battery level. Charging the light is equally simple. Simply plug it into a power source and it will start charging. The side switch will flash red to indicate that it's charging and will turn solid green when finished. While plugged in, the interface changes to only allow turning the light on and off with a simple press. There is only one brightness level available, so there's no reason to leave it in once it's finished charging. The performance of this light is good. The light levels are well balanced, though you can of course use variable mode if you prefer. The output levels across the board are as good as you'd want them to be. Turbo is naturally direct drive, and outputs well over 1000 lumens, though this will of course start to drop rapidly with time. However, the light will drop down to 400 lumens after only 90 seconds of usage on turbo to prevent the light from overheating. This is a pretty huge drop, and I think this is the biggest drawback for many people. This is one area where I'm not too bothered really, as I just don't use turbo modes that much, and in my personal usage, I never actually hit the 90-second step down. Bearing that in mind, I would say that the output and battery performance of this flashlight is quite good. For those wondering why this light cannot output the same high levels as many of its contemporaries, this is mainly due to the emitter, which is just not quite as efficient as comparable models from Cree, and won't produce the same amount of light. This is a drawback that I'm totally okay with, as the beam the light produces is well worth the trade-off. However, there are two main issues with this light's performance. Due to its small size, it will start to get very hot after just a short amount of time, and should not be operated on turbo or even high for longer than a few minutes. The FC11 does not possess any intelligent temperature control circuit, and instead relies on a timed step down to reduce temperature, which is a bit of a disappointment. In all fairness, the heat issue is certainly not unique to this light, and I don't find it to be particularly bad in this case. If you get it, just be mindful of the temperature when using the highest modes. The other issue, which is much more serious in my opinion, is the eco mode, which outputs a full 2 lumens. As I've stated before, I really think that 1 lumen is the maximum that should be used for these moonlight modes, and at this low level, the difference between 1 and 2 lumens is very noticeable. It's not unusable or anything, but I think it's just a little too bright for its intended use. It is somewhat subjective though, of course. Where this light really shines is the optical performance. As stated before, the FC11 utilizes Samsung's LH351D, which produces a natural white beam with a high CRI of 90, which results in very realistic color reproduction. I can't show this in video, but trust me, the color is very pleasing to look at, and this emitter produces a much better beam than more common Cree emitters. It is close to being daylight balanced, and is a bit warmer than the cool white LEDs that are more common. Of course, this emitter wouldn't be worth as much without a proper reflector and lens to shape the beam. The FC11 has a very good reflector that provides an almost completely smooth beam, which is totally free of any visible artifacts. There is no visible tint shift throughout the beam, but the hotspot is slightly warmer in tint than the spill. Again, I need to emphasize that this beam looks really good in person. The hotspot is fairly soft and has a smooth corona. The spill is fairly wide and there is only a faint beam periphery. It is more designed for general purpose use and has a decent amount of reach. The maximum rated intensity is a little over 5000 candela, which realistically will throw for about 100 meters at most. The beam is very good for general use, and in my opinion, this is just the right balance for an EDC light. Regarding the charging performance, the FC11 charges the battery at 1 amp and slowly ramps down during the end of the charge cycle, which will charge the included battery in about 4 hours or so. I measured the standby drain of this light at 1.43 milliamps, which is quite high, so if you're not going to be using it for a while, it's probably best to remove the battery or twist the tail to disconnect the light. Overall, I really like this light. I do have several small complaints, but I'm just being picky. And honestly, I think that this light is a fantastic value. I don't hesitate at all to recommend this as an EDC, and in my opinion, there's very little that actually competes with the FC11 until you reach a higher price bracket. Even then, the improvements will mostly be in the build, as the actual beam quality here is fantastic. When paired with the small size and easy operation, I think that this really is the light to beat. If you're looking for a quality EDC at a low price, then look no further. If you're a collector and are just curious about this light or the emitter, I'd say you should definitely consider picking one up. You won't regret it. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Tell me in the comments below what you think of this light and if there's any alternatives that you think are better for the price. I want to hear what you think. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like and consider subscribing to see future content. If you hated this video, then I guess you could leave a dislike and post mean comments. I can't stop you.